Welcome to Illuminating Catholics, podcast of the Diocese of Sioux City. I'm Dawn Prosser, Director of Communications for the Diocese. Together with Carmen Bauer of the Faith Formation Office, we will shed light upon topics of faith in the modern church. Our guests include Catholic clergy, religious sisters, and other experts in their fields to help us understand what's happening in the church today. We will explore issues, even the tough ones, and to find answers to common questions about Catholicism. Thank you for joining us for today's Illuminating Catholics, shedding light to understand the modern church.
Welcome back to Illuminating Catholics. I am Carmen Bauer, and I'm the Director of Faith Formation for the Diocese of Sioux City.
And I'm Dawn Prosser. I'm Director of Communications for the Diocese.
Dawn and I are so grateful for all of those who follow us and have subscribed to this podcast. We've had some great guests so far, and we continue today. So today in studio, we have two men of All Saints Parish in Lamars, a parish very close to my heart, as it is my own parish home. These two men are active in men's ministry, and it's this group of men who are very instrumental in offering the annual men's conference each spring in our diocese. This year's conference is scheduled for April 5th, and today we welcome Matt Rosener and Joe Kessenich to give us a little bit of information about this event that's coming right on up. So welcome.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. We're so glad that you took the long trip down from Lamars here to Sioux City to be with us. It's kind of nice seeing you all face to face. You've done such wonderful work with the conference, so it'll be fun to share this with everybody. So people outside of Lamars may not know who you are. So if you want to just share with us a little bit about who you are, your family, your work, and maybe some of your involvement in the parish. And maybe, Joe, do you want to start?
Okay, I'm Joe Kessenich. I farm South Lamars, and my wife Kathleen teaches high school religion at Galen Catholic. We're involved in the parish in a lot of things. My wife does the Catechesis of the Good Shepherd, and I help with the religious ed programs, and a lector and a Eucharistic minister, and help with the baptism class and a few other ministries in our parish.
Very good. And Matt?
My wife and I, we have 5 children that we have raised and are continuing to raise in Lamars, and we both are pretty active in the church within teaching the sacramental class, also doing the different ministries of Eucharistic minister and children's liturgy. So some of those programs in our church too. So
great, very involved.
Yes, I have to say, as the former DRE up in All Saints, if you have a desperate need for help, Joe and Matt are always the guys you call. They do so much for the parish, and I don't think that they could be recognized enough for their generosity to the parish community and for their examples of faith lived out with their families. So looking at the men's conference in particular today, can you share with us a little bit of the history of the men's conference? It definitely has a very strong connection to the All Saints men's ministry.
At All Saints, we have a men's group. We meet every morning at 7 o'clock, and we discuss some of the readings that we're having for Sunday Mass, or we do a book or some videos, and we started thinking we could do something more for our parish, so we started back in early 2000. We thought, well, if we could find something that we could involve the more of the parish, so we started thinking about getting the speakers in and doing something like this, and we got involved with the diocese, and then we said, well, let's do this as a diocesan thing, and it kind of took off from there.
Now, can you share a little bit about the roles you each play with the men's conference and planning, and also the day of?
Well, I help just take care of more of the facility side of things at All Saints Parish as far as hosting the men's conference. And so I help kind of line up some of the volunteers of the men's group, keep the men's group informed, help make decisions among the men's group that need to be made for the conference that involve us, and especially the day of the conference, then we really organize amongst us men what we're going to be doing as far as greeters or servers or helping with the Mass with the bishop and other things like that. And then we have Joe, who's one of the volunteers for that day. He also is part of the Plymouth County Pork Producers. So, Joe, do you want to say what?
Okay, yeah, I help with the registration, and kind of all the guys in the men's group help with the setup and showing people where to go and registration. And then I'm involved with Plymouth County Pork Producers, and we do this pork chop in the glove at the fair, and it's just the best pork chop you'll ever have. We have Pete and Remsen at the Remsen Locker makes them up for us. He's got his own secret recipe, and then we have a bunch of the Plymouth County Pork Producers guys come with our Pork Producers grill, and we grill right out front there, so they're fresh, and I've never had a complaint about them. They're
any
very
excuse
tasty.
I have to stop at St. Joseph Church around lunchtime at the men's conference, I take that opportunity.
I'm thinking we should have had a pork chop integrated in the logo somehow.
That is a big draw, isn't it?
Like, as you're talking, like, that sounds really good.
Yeah, they're very mouth-watering.
Yes. Well, and it's always so generous of the pork producers to give their time and be available to us that
They
day.
donate the meat and prepare it, and it goes over well.
Yes. And so what keeps you coming back and being a part of this conference?
I really enjoy just having the camaraderie of all the men together and the fellowship that we have that day. The speakers are wonderful, and the breakout speakers along with the keynote, but it's just nice to see a whole group of men, some that you know, some that you don't know, come year after year, and also the new ones, and just hang out and talk and get to know each other.
I've been pretty impressed with the caliber of speakers we get. When we first started doing this, I thought, well, there's probably a few good speakers out, but they're just many very good Catholic gentlemen from all over the country we get in here, and they're very inspiring. They have great messages. I remember we had Jesse Romero 4 or 5 years ago, and he was a gang member in Mexico, and then he moved to L.A., and he was a gang member there for a while, but then he seen the light of Christ, and he became a policeman, and he has very many stories about life-changing experiences with Christ in his being a cop, and then in his ministry now to speak at things like this.
Definitely, that always seems to be such a big hit with the speakers themselves, and there have been some excellent ones. Now, Matt, you had kind of mentioned, just seeing all of the men together. How has it, been throughout the years to have the same men come year after year? Where do you think that loyalty comes from?
I really see the devotion of fathers bringing their children, and also friends from parishes, whether they're involved in their own men's ministry at some point in their parish, or the Knights of Columbus. It's really neat to see how they help hold each other accountable, and it's also special to see them go to confession. That's one of the opportunities we have: adoration, confession, along with the speakers and the lunch, and it's just neat to see how many utilize that special sacrament together too, and so that really looks really nice, and I really enjoy that.
Last year was my first year attending the men's conference, just helping in the background, and it was so fun right at the beginning of the day. The other delicious food of the day are the cinnamon rolls at the beginning, and it was just so neat. After men registered, they checked in, and there were lots of just greetings. I definitely observed many men who might not see each other that often, but there was definitely that understanding between them and a friendship that had been formed by coming to this event consistently over the years, and that was very touching to me, just as someone who it was my first time really helping out.
Yeah, our Knights of Columbus group, we have a really great kitchen crew at our Knights of Columbus, and they make them fresh right there in the kitchen, and you can smell them when you come in. And
that's pretty welcoming.
Really,
yes.
Yeah, it really adds. They do a great job.
We take the way to a man's heart is through the stomach very seriously with this conference.
Do you think there's some kind of, I don't want to say an attraction, but there's got to be something that's comfortable knowing that this is not just a husbands and wives retreat, it's for men?
Well, I think the men kind of inspire each other. They see, hey, it's okay to pray together, to do this together, and there's you see a lot of groups, carloads of guys will come from Carroll or Algona or some distant place, and I think they have some pretty good conversations in their cars on the way here, and it just inspiring all the way around. Like Matt said too, it's you see fathers and son-in-laws, and it's a way of fostering conversation. It's not always easy to talk to your kids about religion, but when you go to a speaker, then afterwards you have a chance to discuss what happened there, and it's all about our faith. And
what a great opportunity. I don't know that there's a lot of faith-building opportunities specifically for men that I'm aware of. Mm-hmm. Glad that we can offer that.
Yes.
So let's talk about the conference itself. Is there anything that was added this year that you want to point out, especially to the people who've been coming, such as mass times or anything else that you want to point out that might be different than past years?
One thing that's going to be a little special with Steve Angrisano is that he will be singing the Chaplet of Divine Mercy towards the end. We have switched around, so the Mass is going to be in the middle part of the conference with the bishop, so that'll be really nice before lunch. And then to end with the Chaplet of Divine Mercy, that'll be something I think that'll be really, really special this year.
I also want to know, Joe had mentioned, how men do travel from distances, and due to just some feedback from the past conferences, the start time is just a little bit later this year to accommodate for that travel time, which I hope will be appreciated by some men coming from out of town.
Yeah, that helps.
It looks like registration at 7:30. Prayers and welcome at 8:40. If that's accurate.
Yep, we do have a window of time there for registration, and just for that opportunity for men to have those discussions and catching up, those conversations over some coffee as they arrive.
And if someone's not familiar with Steve Angrisano, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, would one of you want to share with us a little bit about who Steve is, his background with the church, and why he's such a sought-after speaker?
Steve Angrisano is an instrumental, recognized Catholic composer, presenter, and passionate music missionary, always rooted in humility and faithfulness. Steve's highly effective and authentic style of ministry springs from his deep love for Jesus Christ. He has traveled around the world for over 2 decades, sharing his unique blend of humor, story, and song, whether it's at parish missions, youth events, concerts, staff retreats, or music workshops. Steve loves working with local ministry teams to bring new life and passion to their Catholic communities.
It is really, I think sometimes we hear the names of speakers a lot. Some of us might be familiar with his name from the missals at church because he's also a composer, as you mentioned. And, this is a man who he's been a part of World Youth Days. He is very much a well-known Catholic speaker because he is so incredibly gifted. He has that gift of gab. He's humor, very talented musically. And I'm excited that we'll be able to experience both sides of that through the keynote. Well, I will be there in the background, not as a main participant. I just kind of try to sneak into these things. I get that opportunity with my job. But we'll be able to hear his storytelling, his talks, as well as his musical gifts there at the end with that Chaplet of Divine Mercy. I think that will be a very special event. During COVID, he had actually started singing the Chaplet of Divine Mercy every day on his Facebook page, and that became a very big devotion for him, and for us to be able to participate now in person, I think will be very touching.
And interestingly, he's also available for a youth Lenten retreat the next day at Sacred Heart in Sioux City. Obviously, very attractive to students because of his Steubenville experiences. So, kind of a 2-for-1 in the diocese. So, Dad and the older sons can go to the men's conference, and teens then go to the youth conference. So tell us a little bit about the other speakers that you have. You've got some breakout sessions in addition to the Mass and confessions and the chaplet and so forth. We've got a few breakout sessions.
Yes, we do have the opportunity to go a couple times to see either a speaker that's either a pastor, the priest, or we have deacons this year. And so we have Deacon Rick Roeder, we have Deacon David Penton, Father Travis Crotty, and also Father Brian Feller. So that's going to be exciting. And I know Deacon Penton is going to be talking about living out the authentic baptismal roles of priest, prophet, and king. Deacon Roeder is going to be talking about spiritual warfare for the Catholic man. And so those are the two that I know of as of now, what they're going to be talking about. And then the others will also have their themes and talks too as we get a little bit closer about what they're going to be talking about. So it should be good. And it's always nice that the men just have the opportunity to go to whoever they want to speak, to listen to as they speak to them.
Will there be enough opportunities? I didn't look at the particulars so much. Would you be able to hear all four speakers?
Nope, you get to choose between two of them. So
Two, and
out
that's
of the
it.
four, it's going to be two of them because two of them will be speaking at the same time at
Okay.
the parish.
Yeah,
So,
just kind of pick whatever topic.
yep.
And then send your friend
Inspires,
to the other one, and then they can tell you about the one that you missed.
Conversations.
Yeah.
And I always think it's neat over, we have a breakout before they eat lunch. And last year I was able to see several men talk to the breakout speakers over lunch, and just continue those conversations. So it's kind of nice to have those local speakers who we can kind of form those relationships with and pick their brains a little bit.
And I understand it's Bishop Nicholas that's going to be presiding at your Mass, and has he been there every year then?
Yeah, he's done it
Yes.
for years.
Great.
So this will be his last one, so it'll be pretty special.
This will be his last one. Of course, he's technically
Yep.
apostolic administrator, but we still call him bishop.
Yes.
So I'm sure he's really looking forward to that and spending time with all of you. He enjoys getting out into the diocese and doing something other than confirmation. He loves confirmations, but just kind of a different avenue for him and an opportunity for some fraternity with him and all of you. So that will be a highlight as well. But what would you say this year in 2025? We've had a lot of great speakers, a lot of great breakouts. What is the best part? And you may have different opinions about this year's event that men should not miss.
Besides the pork chops and
Besides
cinnamon rolls.
Pork chops and cinnamon rolls that Carmen and I will find a way
Yes.
to participate in.
Well, I just think it's a neat opportunity during Lent for if you're looking for something to do that's above and beyond what you typically do or want to do and set aside. It's just a great opportunity, and that you get to get out of whatever you put into it. So if you want to spend time in the Adoration Chapel, if you want to go to confession, if you want to go to the keynotes and the breakouts or hang out by the food, whatever works for you, I think it's just a really neat opportunity for men to just really get whatever they want out of it. So
I like seeing all the guys get together, and it's not the same group every year. There's some that come every year, and some just come. You see them come when they can, and it all adds to the conversations and topics we discuss on the break when we have a lot of time. We meet and talk while we're eating.
yeah.
It's all right. Like a little reunion.
It is. It very much has that feel.
So when should and how can men register for the conference? Is there a deadline to register by, or?
It's online at the diocese website, and then it's also on different flyers at each parish around the diocese too that have the men's conference.
We'll add a link in our show notes to help
That would be-
listeners out. How does that sound?
You bet. And
They
it-
can just click on it.
Yes.
Yep. And there isn't at that time a deadline. We will take walk-ins to that day. It is beneficial though to us for planning that we could have you register and commit as soon as you can. Would be wonderful if you know for sure you're able to come and do that. However, we also will take people the day of too that can come and join us.
Gotta make sure we have enough pork chops.
Yep.
Please RSVP if you can.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you guys, both of you, for all of your time and energy that you've put into the conference over all of these years. I know that it takes a lot of dedication for these events to continue, and having those boots on the ground from a local group of men is always just a very big inspiration to all of us who work in ministry. So I hope that you know how much you are appreciated, and I'm sure you do hear that from the men year after year who thank you for your work. So thank you both to Matt Rosener and Joe Kessenich, members of the planning committee for this year's 2025 Men's Conference. Just a reminder, it will be held in Lamars at St. Joseph Church on April 5th, so make sure you mark the date on your calendar and share the information with your husbands, sons, uncles, and grandfathers. You are the best advertisement for this conference. I had someone come up to me last year and they said, "How are you going to help this conference grow?" And I said, "Well, I am not a man, so I think that it would be really beneficial if you go back and you invite 3 of your friends next year." So just word of mouth is always great, and carpool together. And as Joe mentioned, some great discussions happened during that time. So thank you to Matt and Joe, and thank you for following Illuminating Catholics. Don't miss a single podcast, as we have more great topics and guests on the schedule, because there is always something to learn about the faith.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Illuminating Catholics, shedding light to understand the modern church. Follow us for more episodes on topics of the Catholic faith. For more diocesan news, visit lumenmedia.org.